Awesome, man. Yeah, guys. So for those catching it, let me introduce Craig Rodney to you guys. He's based out of Cape Town in South Africa, and sort of agency expert, coach extraordinaire. You know, he knows everything about the world of running an agency, and we've got a really, really great topic to discuss. And I was just saying to Craig, I spoke to him about this topic because it's a really unique one from an agency perspective, one that doesn't get addressed very often. And one that I think is probably one of the biggest frustrations for a lot of agency owners is that question of the power imbalance between the agency and the client, and how to kind of what it actually looks like for some agencies. I think it's kind of different for a lot of agencies because I think personality comes into this quite a lot, and the style of agency that you're running. But also, you know, maybe some tips maybe that Craig can share with us and some advice on how to better deal with this kind of imbalance.
Yeah, it's a pervasive issue. It's been around for a very long time. Optimistically, I think it can be dealt with, but I don't see the industry changing as a whole. And there's some like kind of macroeconomic reasons for why I don't see it changing. But within individual agencies, it can change. And so I think there's kind of hope there.
Yeah, well, that's always good to hear that there's hope. That it's not all lost, all hope is not lost, which is always nice to hear. So, I mean, talking about that, I mean, as you say, it's a tale as old as time, and I don't think it's just an agency thing. I think it's a business thing. You know, you've got a client, you're running a business, and you're trying your very best to serve that client and do your best for them. And sometimes it just feels like you can never do any right, and it's just a continuous struggle.
Yeah.
What's it look like from your side?
So yes, I mean, listen, I ran an agency for 15 years, and so I know what it's like firsthand. I was in that position. Thankfully, as my years progressed, we were able to move away from being kind of in this like ready to be abused situation, and we were able to develop amazing partnerships with the clients that we worked with over time. But it was always there, and it's there within the industry. And the reason why I say I don't see it going away across it as a macro level across agencies is simply because, kind of from an industry perspective, there's so much abundance. So there's a couple of things. The one is that clients have so much abundance of choice.
Yeah.
Right. You're looking for a digital agency. Okay, cool. Well, how many do you get to choose from? Like 100,000 digital agencies, maybe 200,000 digital agencies that a client can choose from, and that all those agencies want the work, right? So there's so much abundance of choice for the client. That's the first problem. For most agencies, there's a scarcity of opportunity. So most agencies are sitting like desperate for work. They need new clients. They're always looking for opportunities. And so you've got, on the one hand, you've got this a massive amount of abundance of choice for a client, and then there's a lot of scarcity of opportunity for agencies. And so a client can kind of go like, if you don't perform, I can toss you out. I can replace you in a heartbeat. And the client's in there going, I really, really need to win this piece of work. And so they overpromise, they discount, they'll like do anything to secure the work. And that the way that a relationship is then initiated is then kind of permeated throughout the life of that client, and it's almost impossible to recover from. You have to lose the client and be better with the next one, right? So that's the one issue. Where it starts though is a good thing and a bad thing for the agency, for the agency landscape. I often have people saying to me, like, you know, like when they're feeling stressed and stuff, they go, come on, like Craig, there's got to be a better way to make money. You know, and I'm like, there are many better ways to make money, but there are very few ways to make money as effective as an agency, considering there's zero barrier to entry.
Yeah.
You don't need any specific qualifications to start an agency. You don't need to have passed a course. You don't need, you don't need startup capital. You don't need anything, right? Like you register a business that as a billing entity, and you start telling people that you're an agency. Like that's it. The barrier to entry is register a business. Okay. And so because there's such a low barrier to entry, it's a flooded space. Like that's what I'm saying. There's hundreds of thousands of agencies in this space. And if you're unable to differentiate within that kind of melee, then you're always going to suffer from the fact that a client has so much infinite choice, and when there's infinite choice and it's a commoditized service, then it's a price thing, right? And the moment it's a price thing, you are discounting, and you're going to be finding yourself in a tough place. So the way to escape it is, again, if you're an agency and you're stuck in this position, there's a very good chance you won't fix your client relationships without losing them.
Right.
And I encourage you to embrace that and go, rather over a period of time, rather take a year or 2 years if necessary to replace your existing clients with new clients under a new set of rules, etc. And a lot of it is just believing in yourself. I get it, like it is, but a lot of the changes are structural. So the probably the biggest thing is to reduce your clients' abundance. And the way you reduce the abundance is to be able to do things that very few other agencies can do, is to have some level of speciality, some level of expertise that stands head and shoulders above anyone else. And if you can do that, and you can get yourself into, and maybe there's a handful of agencies that can do this, suddenly the client doesn't have an abundance of choice. The client has scarcity. If they want this, and if they want this level of service, and if they want this, whatever the solution that you're offering, and you are quite literally one of a handful of agencies that can do this, then you suddenly have power in the relationship, and the client can't just kick you out and replace you overnight. And this sounds mean, and I don't want to be mean to clients, because it's not universal. It's not, and it's never a client's fault, but they can't treat you badly, and you can't allow the client to treat you badly, won't, because you know that they don't have an abundance of choice. So I think first and foremost, if you cannot differentiate yourself, if you cannot develop a level of speciality or expertise or brilliance within a field, then you are always going to be
just another agency.
Right. Well, yeah, and it's not to say that you can't have parity in power with a client. You still can, but it's a lot harder when a client kind of go like, if you guys aren't, if you don't jump when I say jump, I'm going to replace you. You have a choice. You either jump or you get replaced. And in that scenario, most agencies will jump. So from a client side, reduce their abundance by specializing, by being one of one or one of a very small number of agencies that can deliver the service that this client is looking for. That's the first thing. The second thing is to increase your abundance. So increase your opportunities, and specializing will do that, but you also actually need to become a hunter. You need to be able to drive leads and aggressively create opportunities for yourself, and get out there and do your marketing and do your positioning and do your networking, do whatever it takes to create as many opportunities as possible. But creating new client opportunities is a skill set. I'm always amazed. Like I've coached well over 100 agencies around the world. And when I say to them, where do your leads come from? And where do you get new clients from? It is unbelievable how many of them go, well, it's just referral.
Yeah. Word of mouth.
Right?
They call it word of mouth.
And it's referrals. And I'm like, well, you must be good to be getting referrals. So props, like it's a compliment. It's like a brilliant thing. I'm not saying don't have referrals, but in the hunter-gatherer kind of world, like you're a gatherer, like you're just sitting there and like the fruit is falling in your lap and you're like, oh, great. Right. But if times get tough, you haven't developed the skills to be able to control your supply of opportunity. Whereas hunters are out there developing the skills. And I'm not saying that it's always easy for hunters, but they have, over a lifetime, they develop the skills to be able to eat, to be able to feed themselves and their families. In the agency world, it's about moving from passive person waiting for opportunities into highly active and a highly skilled creator of opportunities, right? Even the agencies that get referrals haven't professionalized their referral marketing.
Yeah.
They haven't professionalized how and when they ask for referrals and etc. It's like all left up to the other people to be kind, so their clients to be kind enough to refer them. So if you can develop the skills, and again, this is not an easy thing to do, but if you can develop the skills to create leads, right, which is quite easy to create leads, it's a lot harder to create qualified leads.
Yeah.
And what I mean by qualified is that the lead, they know who you are and they've expressed a need or an interest.
Yeah.
Now, if you're engaging with someone who knows who you are and they're actively looking for what you do, you have a significantly good chance of winning that piece of business.
Yeah.
Whereas a lead is like a name and email address, someone you saw on LinkedIn, you know, like, so creating leads, converting those leads into qualified leads, and then closing that business is an absolute skill, right? And it's an active endeavor. It's not a passive endeavor. It's an active endeavor. So by improving your ability to create and close opportunities, right, increases your abundance. And so if you have this abundance of opportunity, you're far less likely to compromise yourself with an existing client or compromise yourself during a proposal process. You're not going to discount, you're not going to overpromise, you're not going to overdeliver, because you know, like, if this client is going to abuse us or is going to expect us to overdeliver and expect us to lose money, then I'm going to part ways and I'll pick up the next one. But that only comes from this abundance mindset. So you decrease a client's abundance and you increase your abundance. And by accomplishing those two, and I mean, it's easy for me to say it like I am, like I can just throw it off the tongue, right? It's not easy, and I understand that. But if you put your plans in place and you work at it consistently and you have meticulous focus on it, on specializing and, you know, becoming experts in a specific area and developing your lead gen and your new business skills, you'll fix it.
Yeah.
It might take a month, it might take a year, it might take a couple of years, but you will fix it.
Yeah.
And when it's fixed, you'll realize that when you have healthy relationships and partner relationships with clients, you're able to charge a fair rate. So you're able to get paid and actually deliver a profit. You're paid enough that you can hire good people who do really good work, and everyone benefits.
Yeah.
The client benefits because they get amazing results and they get amazing service from you because you can afford to do that. You can afford to deliver expertise.
Yeah.
But if you cannot win parity or at least some standing in the power relationship with a client, you will never actually be able to do good work for them, because you have to be able to make money to do good work. You have to be able to hire people and invest in skills and invest in creating good work. And if you're getting paid a low rate and if you're constantly having to over deliver, like, there's no ways you're doing good work.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of, you know, one of my lines that I used to love with clients is when they started fighting over rates and they started trying to push us around and use their power to get better deal or whatever. I would always just say to them, I say, guys, I can't let you win this. I said, I can't let you win this fight. Like, if I let you win this, the quality of work dies.
Yeah.
And we go out of business because we can't deliver value. So I actually am not going to let you win this fight. And most reasonable clients understand that, and any client who's unreasonable should walk.
Yeah. It's so true. And I love what you said, particularly around the deliberateness and the particularness of turning your word of mouth business into a deliberate and professionalized, use the word professionalized process. But I think what's really clear about also what you're saying, and this is a conversation I have with a lot of agency owners as well, is it's about a mindset shift. And I think what you've said at the end there about, I can't let you win this fight, because if I do, then everything's going to suffer and no one's going to win. Like, I love your outlook is, hey, we all want to win here. This isn't about just paying me an amount of money and then I do the work for you. It's about, how do I win and how do you as the client win? So in order to do that, it is a mindset shift. It is about saying, building a relationship with somebody who is going to acknowledge that they're paying you money for a result that you're looking out for their best interests. Whereas often it is a bit of a fight. That invoice goes out once a month and they go, oh, what am I actually getting here in return for this invoice? And they start getting a bit bitter about it month after month. But that's if you're not delivering the value. But if you can't deliver the value, if you're continuously fighting with them over invoices and things like that, it becomes a really tough conversation.
And one of the best pieces of advice I can give to guys is to position the work. And in agencies, there's always this like, oh, the work, but it is like, position the product that you're creating, position the marketing that you are generating for this client, position that as the third party. There's the client, there's the agency, and then there's the work, right? And your conversation with the client is not about you as an agency, it's about the work,
right?
And so you say, guys, listen, like, please understand that any pressure you apply to us impacts the work. And so if you want below average work, then carry on. That's what's going to, the end result is that you're going to get average work. It's going to have to go through, it's going to come back and have to get redone 12 times and it still won't be better. You're then going to have to go through this incredibly frustrating and stressful process of changing agencies. And then you're going to get the exact same result on the end with the next agency, because you yourselves are not prioritizing the work. And so for me, it was all about the lag. I mean, I'm first and foremost like a PR guy, right? Like my first agency, I tend to default to the power of messaging. And like I said there, like when you challenge a client and you say to them, guys, like, I can't let you win this. That's such a good message. Like it drives it home to them. Right? Another one for me is around specifically around clients burning through your time because they think that they own you. They think that you can work nights or whatever it is, right? When you get into that situation where a client isn't respectful of your time, the conversation for me and the message there again is to say, listen, like we are trying to keep as much of the budget available for producing outcomes as possible. But the more meetings we have, and the more phone calls and the more emails and the basically the worse you behave as a client, the less budget's available for producing outcomes. And so like it's again, but again, I don't want to go into
it's like a friction thing. The more friction you create, the less smoothness there is in the relationship, the less ability we have to actually produce.
Ultimately, and I like this for me is a big thing, and I want to go on record about this. Like, it's never the client. It's always you. Right? Like, they say there's no bad children, there's only bad parents. Right? There's no bad clients. There's only bad agencies. Right? As the agency, if you are incapable of securing strength in this relationship, of securing a status in this, and I don't want to say parity because it implies equality, but I'm saying if you can't establish yourself as a player in the relationship, then you are going to always fault. You are the one creating the environment that allows abuse to happen. Right. And way too many agencies take on the victim mentality. And I'm like, no, it's like, if it's happening to you, it's because of a decision you've made or because you're allowing it in a certain way. You haven't specialized or you haven't worked hard enough at creating new opportunities to replace bad clients, right? You immediately discounted when there was a little bit of pressure. You never told a client, like, sorry, no. You never had a difficult conversation with a client around getting the best results. You immediately assumed that you were weak and you behaved that way. And I just want to make sure that, like, this is not at all about client bashing, like, because there's some phenomenally good clients out there. There's amazing clients out there, and there are some really abusive ones. But in the middle, like, if you eliminate the few clients who are purposefully abusive, who kind of get off on being abusive, and they exist, but they are very, very rare. The vast majority of clients are simply operating within an environment that is created and allowed and enabled by the agency, right? And an agency turns around and says, yeah, but the client wouldn't treat their lawyers like this. And you're like, well, the lawyers don't let the client treat them like this. It's not like that's actually the truth of the matter is the lawyers started, they determined the way the client engages with them, and you haven't done that. And so there's a lot of work to be done there, but even if you there's a part of you that you can blame the client, eliminate that. It's not helpful. Like blaming the client is absolving yourself of the responsibility to fix the problem, and the responsibility to fix it does lie with you.
And again, it comes back to that mindset shift. It's a victim mentality. It's saying, yes, we can all be victims, and yes, we're all hard done by in some form or another, but it's about when that happens, turning around and saying, well, I could go lie down in bed and just shy away from the world and be a victim, or I can turn around and take responsibility and ownership. It's an ownership question as well. It's saying I need to take ownership of this relationship. And I guess what you're saying there as well, which is really key, is by going out and looking for new opportunities, by going out and differentiating and finding a way for your agency to stick out amongst the absolute clutter that's out there, you are taking ownership, you are taking responsibility and saying, I'm different because I can do this for clients. And that's why I'm able to, when they ask me for a discount, turn around and say, no, I can't do that because it's just not going to, so you're not going to get the right outcome from it. So that's why I need to say no.
100%. So, but I think it's worth discussing a lot of the origin of agency behavior. Because I think when you understand the origin of the agency behavior, and as I said, I did it. Like I was as guilty as anyone else, if not more. So the origin is that all agencies or most agencies don't start with funds. Like I haven't come across an agency that raised capital to start. They just start, like, you know what I mean? Like it's like, oh, we want a client and okay. And so almost all agencies, when they start in survival mode, right? No one is in like thrival mode. Everyone is in survival mode. So when we start in survival mode, we have an abundance of time because we don't have any clients. So I got nothing but time. We don't have any money. So we have abundance of time and a scarcity of money.
Right.
So what we do is we throw time. Like time is this thing that we have so much of. And so when we go into our first client opportunity, right, even if we don't discount, we over deliver. Because we're like, well, I've got one client who maybe buys 30 hours of my time, but I've got 300 hours. And so I'm just going to make them so happy that I'm going to secure that client. Like they will never leave us. They'll be so happy. And we keep doing that. So then we win the next client, and then we win the next client. And so we're either discounting on our price because making it to next month is more important than anything else, or we're over delivering because we've got this abundance of time and it's freely available to us, so we just throw it at the problems, right? And if you look at like when you consider Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and at the base level, it's food, shelter, safety, security. It's all these like primal survival requirements. And when an agency starts, those are our requirements. We have to make it to next month. And what I will say is that if you're in survival mode and you discount and you over deliver and you do all of these things in order to make it to next month, that is the right decision. That is the right decision. Like I can never criticize someone for making wrong decision, but that ensures survival. Okay. What I want everyone to understand though is that while I applaud you for making the correct decision at that point in time, which is choosing to make it to next month over not, the decision frameworks that you use in survival mode trap you there. And so if you want to escape survival mode, you cannot escape survival mode by using survival decision making. You have to flip it. You know, you can't hire cheap people all the time. You can't discount or over deliver on all your clients. You can't go like, it's okay, I'll just work tonight and I'll work this, etc., right? You actually have to establish start working on establishing parity and becoming a professional partner to this client.
Right.
And that means that you have to risk not winning a client, or you have to risk losing a client by saying, sorry, like we're out.
Yeah, not for us. Yeah.
Or not in the scope. Or what I prefer to do is instead of saying no, you weaponize a yes. And you say, yes, absolutely, I'll send you a quote.
Yeah.
Right. And then the client has to say no. But the decisions that you make in survival mode, they're correct for survival mode, but they trap you there.
Yeah.
And to get out of it and get into a normal mode of business is you have to recognize that those decisions were great for then, but
they need to be short term, and they need to be about the short term, about getting through survival to the next stage. You've got to be developing yourself. You can't be staying in that place.
100%, but they're crippling you. So this is like the analogy. So every agency owner knows this. In fact, probably all business owners. But as agency owners, we have all experienced that downward spiral, right? And that downward spiral, it can start anywhere, but I'll describe it, right? So you have some people working for you that you had to hire cheap because you didn't have enough money. They do average work, it gets sent off to the client. The client's unhappy, it comes back, right? And you go, oh, jeez, okay, now we have to do it again. So we're giving more time to a thing that was underpaid anyway. And then, you still don't get it right. Now, because you're not getting it right, now the client is getting upset and going, oh, I'm looking at changing agencies. So now you go, well, we're going to lose this client, so we have to over-deliver. You're like, but you've already been over-delivering. So then you go, okay, we need to over-deliver. So then you start over-delivering and you start this spiral. And then you're okay, we're not making enough money. And if we're not making enough money, we can't hire good people. And bad people make these problems. So every person understands this downward spiral.
Awesome.
There is an upward spiral though.
Yeah.
Right? The upward spiral is the reverse of exactly what I've described. The upward spiral is when you do such phenomenally good work that a client starts coming to you and says, okay, how do we do more of this? How much more money do you need? Can you take on other services? Or do you guys also do this? Because if you're this good at this, do you also do this, right? And you're making enough money that you can hire amazing people, and amazing people create work that doesn't always come back. And those amazing people don't need all of your time. So you're not spending your life checking everyone's work. So there's an upward spiral.
Right.
And what I want to say is that there's only one starting point for an upward spiral. So the downward spiral can start anywhere, but the upward spiral can only start in one place, and it's charging correctly. Because if you do not charge correctly, you cannot move up. You are always on a back foot. But you can't charge correctly if a client has 16 other quotes that are all less than yours.
Yeah.
And the client doesn't understand
the value,
that you have any differentiation.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it sounds like it's a topic that lends itself to this doomsday philosophy. And I just don't want anyone to feel doomsday. This can be fixed.
Yeah.
It's not super difficult. Pretty much every client that I coach has this problem, and we fix it in every single one. But it requires bravery. It requires owning up. It requires kind of understanding. It requires being willing to accept that you will probably lose every single client that you don't have a good relationship with, because they're not gonna suddenly pay you 3 times what they've been paying you.
Yeah.
But you can replace them. Over time, you can win good clients, healthy relationships, doing amazing work, paying you fair rates. You can make a nice profit on it. You can hire good people. That is, it is common. It is possible. It's not that it's not complicated, but it's hard work. It requires a lot of courage, and it requires, as I said, specializing, creating your niche, understanding how you can minimize the options that a client has, and becoming brilliant at creating new opportunities.
Yeah. Dude, wise words, man. Wise words. And I think you've dropped so much knowledge, so much value in there. I don't think there's much else to add. I mean, I think there's a lot to take in, and I think it's, again, going back to what we discussed, guys, it is really a mindset shift that you need to make, and it's about self-respect at the end of the day as well. It's about saying, hey, my time and my value that I add to these clients is worth it. It's definitely what I would love to do. I know we we like to keep these kind of short, but I think what would be really powerful is maybe you and I can connect in a month or two again, and maybe do a similar chat potentially on pricing, because I know that this is one of that what you've ended on there talking about pricing is definitely one of the most difficult conversations that agency owners have, particularly the ones that are at the bottom who have good intentions and actually might even have a good differentiator. They just don't know how to value that differentiator to the clients, and they're generating the leads, but they're putting out those pitches, and they're putting out those proposals that have a number at the bottom that's just getting beaten up by people who know less than they are and actually can add less value. So if you're keen to do that, we can maybe do another one.
That's a phenomenal topic, and I'd love to do it. What I want to do though is I want to just before we end, like I want to encourage everyone to run a very simple exercise when we're talking about this, like the around this topic, is I want everyone to do what we used to call a love-hate matrix. Okay. And so it's a very simple, like vertical axis, and a horizontal axis. You have 4 quadrants. And so you split them into, we love them, we hate them. Hate's a strong word, but we love the client, we hate the client. And they love us and they hate us. Right. And so you have quadrant 1 is love, quadrant 4 is hate, right? And I would encourage you, and then you define what makes love, right? And so we love clients because they're a cool brand, it's interesting work, they treat us with respect, they pay fairly, they pay on time. Like there's a long list of why we would love a client. There's a long list of why a client would love us, and there's lists for hate, why we would hate a client, and why a client would hate us. And I would encourage you to plot every single one of your existing clients into this love-hate matrix to see where they are, right? And if you have clients that are hate, like life's too short, like just go in, be super polite and go, guys, like this isn't working. Like, can we refer you on? But let's set a date to end everyone's misery. That's pretty easy. Clients that you love, but that hate you or that struggle with you, is you go in and be honest and you say, listen, we love you guys. Like we really want to keep you as a client, but we see that you're struggling. We understand that you're struggling somewhere. How can we improve? How can we recover this relationship? And it's not going to be by doing over delivering, and it's not going to be by discounting, right? But outside of those 2 things, like maybe we can recover this and maybe we can move them up to love.
Yeah.
And then clients that love you, but you hate them. And again, hate's a strong word, but clients that love you, but you hate them, like you go in and you go, this is the price, right? Like, and you basically say, like, if they have to pay for it. So if there's a client that pays really badly, like they pay like 90 days or whatever like that, and like they fall into that category of like they don't respect us enough, like you got to pay for that. Then I don't mind being paid in 90 days if I'm being paid a big number. So you fix that. But the idea here is by mapping all your clients out, you can specify actions. But the idea is we want love. Like that's the best you could ever get, the best results for clients, the best for your profit margin, the best for your employees. Everything is love. And because it's so hard to always find good people and to hire, growing an agency isn't about growing numbers. It's about growing the profit margin and growing the stature of a business. So once you've done that, mapped it out, when you've got the next opportunity for a new client come in, don't automatically assume that you're just adding more people and adding more resources, right? Quote correctly, make sure you pitch correctly, quote correctly, it's good rates, and then replace.
Yeah.
And then go, cool. Which client do we need to give notice to that is not a good client? Is a break even or we losing money on? And let's replace a bad client with a good client. And I promise you now, like your people get happier because when you start getting rid of bad clients and you replace them with good clients, your employees feel respected. So they stay and you attract better talent and everything. And as I said, everything starts improving, that we start that upward spiral. But as I said, the upward spiral only starts in one place, and that's convincing that client to sign the correct cost estimate.
Yeah.
If you can't do that, you're done.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful. I love it. And as I said, I think pricing is a big one that we can maybe have another chat about at another time. But man, really, Craig, I really appreciate you taking the time and sharing the value with you and your experience.
I love it. And I look forward to catching up. The pricing one is awesome. Like, it's such a good conversation, and not an easy one either.
Yeah, no, I know, and that's the funny thing is, I think, because that comes off the back of what we've discussed today is, getting your relationship right with your agents, with your clients, and understanding the power imbalance first, and then going, how do I get that pricing right? And if I know that I've got my mindset correct, I need to make sure that I'm pricing correctly as well.
Absolutely, 100%.
Beautiful, mate. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it, man. Where can people find you? How can people connect with you?
Craig at craigrodney.com. You can just email me. My website is craigrodney.com. Otherwise, email me, Craig at craigrodney.com. Always happy to chat.
Beautiful. Sounds like a plan, man.
Nice one.
Thank you so much. Have a good one, eh?